Tea is supposed to be one of the oldest comfort rituals on earth. A quiet moment in a cup. Warm, calming, and rooted in centuries of tradition. But walk into a modern grocery store, and that ancient ritual has been turned into something far less peaceful. Today, the tea aisle looks less like a wellness sanctuary, and more like Russian roulette, loaded with microplastics, pesticide residues, and premium packaging that hides some very uncomfortable truths. Most people assume tea is safe by default. After all, it's just dried leaves and hot water, right? But behind many of the most popular tea brands are global supply chains optimized for cost, not purity. Lab testing has repeatedly found pesticide cocktails in everyday teas, while certain tea bags, especially the silky pyramid ones, release billions of microplastic particles into a single cup when steeped at normal brewing temperatures. The most disturbing part is how invisible all of this is. The boxes look wholesome, the branding leans on heritage, wellness, and sophistication, and consumers trust those signals without ever questioning what's actually dissolving into their mug. So today, we're recutting through the marketing and exposing 7 tea brands and formats you should avoid at all costs, along with 5 options that are genuinely safe and worth drinking. By the end of this breakdown, you will know which teas respect your health, and which ones turn a calming ritual into a chemistry experiment. Worst number 1, Lipton. Lipton is the most recognizable tea brand in America, and that familiarity is exactly how it gets away with being one of the worst offenders. For generations, the yellow box has been the default choice for iced tea, offices and kitchens that never stopped to ask what was actually in the cup. Cheap, everywhere, and trusted by habit rather than quality. The biggest problem isn't just flavor, it's plastic. Lipton's pyramid-style tea bags are made from nylon or PET mesh. A 2019 McGill University study found that steeping these bags at normal brewing temperatures releases over 11 billion microplastics and billions of nanoplastics into a single cup. That means every premium-looking cup is also a plastic delivery system. Add to that repeated findings of pesticide residues in independent testing, and the picture gets worse. Lipton sources commodity tea dust and fannings from industrial auctions, the lowest grade material left over after better leaves are sold elsewhere. The flavor is flat, bitter, and hollow, often masked with strength rather than character. Lipton survives on recognition, not quality. It looks harmless, but it quietly turns a calming ritual into a daily exposure problem, earning its place at the very top of the avoid list. Worst, number 2. Tetley. Tetley leans heavily on its British heritage, presenting itself as a refined, trustworthy alternative to American mass-market tea. Founded in the 1800s and sold worldwide, it trades on history to suggest quality, but independent lab results tell a very different story. Tetley relies on CTC processing, crush, tear, curl, a method that turns tea leaves into tiny particles designed to brew fast and strong. The problem is that this process also concentrates whatever chemicals were on those leaves. CBC marketplace testing found up to 22 different pesticide residues in a single Tetley product, including substances banned in other countries. Technically, Tetley claims these residues fall within legal limits, but regulations measure chemicals individually, not as a combined cocktail. No one studies what happens when dozens of pesticides interact in one cup of hot water. The result is tea that's strong but muddy, harsh, and faintly chemical in the aftertaste. People buy Tetley because the box feels familiar and vaguely premium. In reality, it is industrial tea hiding behind a British accent. And that's why it earns its spot among the brands you should avoid. Worst number 3. Twinings. Twinings is one of the most prestigious names in the tea world, selling itself on more than 300 years of history and a royal warrant from the British monarchy. For many shoppers, that crown on the box signals safety, refinement, and quality. But beneath the elegant packaging, Twinings operates much like any other large grocery tea brand, prioritizing shelf life and consistency over purity. Independent testing has found pesticide residues in several Twinings products, undermining the premium image the brand carefully cultivates. On top of that, many of their traditional tea bags are made from bleached paper, which can leave behind chlorinated byproducts that have no place in a supposedly high-end tea. The brand's massive lineup of flavored blends leans heavily on natural flavors, creating aromas that feel more like perfume than real tea. Flavor-wise, Twinings is pleasant but forgettable. The tea is designed not to offend, not to excel. At $4 to $6 per box, you're paying for history and prestige, not superior sourcing. Twinings proves that royal branding can sell an image of quality even when the contents of the cup fail to live up to the crown. Worst number 4. Yogi. Yogi built its reputation on wellness, organic labels, Ayurvedic blends, inspirational quotes on every tea tag. Everything about the brand suggests purity and healing. For health-conscious consumers, Yogi feels like a safe choice. But in 2024, that image took a serious hit. Nearly 900,000 bags of Yogi ES organic immune support tea were recalled due to pesticide residues found above action levels. The company blamed contamination drifting from nearby conventional farms, but the recall exposed a harsh reality. Organic certification doesn't guarantee a clean cup. Complex global supply chains can fail, even for brands built on transparency. Beyond safety concerns, Yogi's teas often taste more like supplements than beverages. Herbs dominate the flavor profile, appealing to people seeking function over enjoyment. Many consumers continued buying the brand after the recall, trusting the wellness image more than the evidence. Yogi's story is a cautionary tale. Good intentions and calming branding aren't enough when testing reveals real-world problems. When wellness promises collapse under scrutiny, trust is the first thing that disappears. And that's why Yogi belongs on the avoid list. Worst number 5. Celestial Seasonings. Celestial Seasonings built an empire on the idea of natural comfort. Those iconic boxes, dreamy artwork, and blends like Sleepy Time have been sitting in American kitchens for decades, quietly convincing shoppers that this is the wholesome, trustworthy choice. But the gap between image and reality is wider than most people realize. Over the years, third-party testing and FDA quality warning letters have repeatedly flagged pesticide residues and quality control issues in Celestial Seasonings, herbal teas. This is especially concerning because herbal teas are often assumed to be safer than traditional black or green tea. In reality, herbs like chamomile, mint, and hibiscus come from multiple global supply chains, each with its own contamination risks. The brand's massive scale and endless flavor variety make consistent sourcing incredibly difficult. While the teas usually taste pleasant and do serve a calming purpose, the repeated lab findings undermine the 100% natural trust the brand depends on. Natural branding, it turns out, is not the same as verified purity. Celestial Seasoning survives because it feels comforting and familiar. But familiarity doesn't equal safety. This chapter proves that natural aesthetics can coexist with real quality concerns, earning Celestial Seasonings its place among the teas to approach with caution. Worst number 6. Tazo Tazo was designed to make grocery store tea feel sophisticated. Bold colors, dramatic names like Zen and Awake, and its long association with Starbucks created the illusion that this was tea chosen by experts. In reality, Tazo is a branding success story more than a sourcing success story. Independent investigations have found multi-residue pesticide issues in several Tazo products, especially in blends that combine numerous herbs, spices, and flavorings. Each added ingredient increases supply chain complexity and contamination risk. What looks artisanal on the outside is often commodity tea dressed up with aggressive flavoring. The aroma is usually impressive, but once brewed, the actual tea quality doesn't match the spa-like presentation. At $5 to $8 per box, consumers are paying a premium for atmosphere rather than verified purity or superior leaves. Tazo appeals to people who want to feel like tea connoisseurs without going beyond the grocery aisle. And that's exactly how it succeeds. But when you look past the packaging, Tazo reveals itself as another example of marketing outpacing substance, which is why it earns a spot on the avoid list. Worst number 7. Plastic pyramid, tea bags. This isn't tea about one brand, it is about one of the biggest material mistakes in modern tea. Those silky, see-through pyramid tea bags are marketed as premium because they allow leaves to expand and look sophisticated. The problem is what they're made of. Most pyramid bags on the market are constructed from nylon or PET plastic, not paper or plant fiber. A 2019 McGill University study found that steeping a single plastic pyramid tea bag at normal brewing temperatures releases over 11 billion microplastics and billions of nanoplastics into one cup. That's not an abstract risk. It's a measurable, repeatable result. And the worst part? These bags often cost more than traditional paper sachets, meaning consumers are paying extra to drink plastic. Brands across the spectrum use these bags, from mass-market names to boutique labels, because they look upscale. If the packaging doesn't explicitly say paper, abaca, hemp, or plant-based fiber, assume it's plastic and walk away. The glossy appearance is a marketing trick that prioritizes aesthetics over safety. Plastic pyramid bags are proof that sometimes the most expensive-looking option is the worst one. Avoiding them entirely is one of the simplest ways to dramatically improve what ends up in your mug. Best number 8. Numi Numi marks the turning point on this list, the moment where tea becomes clean, transparent, and intentional. Founded in 1999, Numi was built around the idea that consumers deserve to know exactly what they're drinking, not just trust vague promises on a box. The brand uses organic, fair trade certified tea and backs those claims with third-party lab testing. Just as important, Numi avoids plastic entirely, using manila hemp and plant fiber tea bags that don't shed microplastics when steeped. That single choice already places it miles ahead of most grocery store options. Flavor reflects the sourcing. Jasmine and bergamot teas are scented using real flowers through traditional aging methods, not sprayed with artificial flavorings. The result tastes natural and balanced, not perfumed. At $5 to $7 per box, Numi isn't the cheapest, but the price reflects ingredients and verification rather than marketing budgets. Numi proves that safe tea doesn't require sacrificing convenience. When brands prioritize transparency and materials, you can actually enjoy tea the way it was meant to be, without wondering what else is dissolving into your cup. Best number 9. Traditional medicinals. Traditional medicinals approaches tea very differently from most grocery brands. Founded by trained herbalists in the 1970s, the company treats herbs as medicine first, beverage second, and that mindset shows in how seriously they take testing and sourcing. Every batch of herbs is tested for pesticides, heavy metals, and microbial contamination, standards that most tea companies simply don't meet or even attempt. This matters because herbs like ginger, turmeric, and licorice can absorb heavy metals from soil. Traditional medicinals doesn't tea rely on trust or branding. They verify safety before anything reaches the shelf. The tea bags themselves are made from unbleached abaca plant fiber with no plastic and no chlorine bleaching. Their formulas, like throat coat, peppermint, and ginger, actually deliver the effects they promise because the herbs are sourced for active compounds, not just flavor. At $6 to $8 per box, the price reflects real testing and verification. Traditional medicinals is the choice for people who want herbal tea that functions as intended, not wellness marketing wrapped around uncertain ingredients. Best number 10. Red Rose. Red Rose is the quiet surprise of the tea aisle. Founded in the late 1800s and best known as Canada's everyday black tea, it doesn't rely on wellness buzzwords or premium packaging. Instead, it focuses on simple, responsible sourcing, and the lab results back it up. In CBC marketplace testing, Red Rose was the only mainstream tea brand that came back completely free of detectable pesticide residues. That's a remarkable result in a category where even premium brands often fail. The tea bags are traditional paper sachets, avoiding plastic and unnecessary materials altogether. Flavor-wise, Red Rose is straightforward and dependable. It brews a smooth, balanced cup that works just as well for morning tea as it does for iced tea. At $3 to $4 per box, it proves that clean tea doesn't have to be expensive or complicated. Red Rose appeals to practical drinkers who care more about what's in the cup than how fancy the box looks. It's proof that when companies prioritize sourcing over marketing, safety and affordability can coexist. Best number 11. Rishi Rishi represents what premium tea looks like when the price is backed by real sourcing, not storytelling. Founded in the late 1990s, Rishi pioneered direct trade relationships with tea gardens long before it became a buzzword. Instead of buying anonymous commodity tea from auctions, they worked directly with specific farms in China, Japan, India, and Sri Lanka. That direct relationship matters. It allows Rishi to control quality at the source, verify farming practices, and publish harvest dates, origin details, and testing information that most brands keep hidden. Their organic certification is supported by boots-on-the-ground verification, not just paperwork. The difference is obvious in the cup. Whole leaves, clean flavor, and depth that grocery store tea simply can't replicate. Rishi avoids plastic tea bags and focuses heavily on loose leaf, where you can actually see what you're brewing. At $8 to $15 per box, and higher for loose leaf, it's not cheap, but the cost reflects farmer pay, quality control, and transparency rather than marketing gloss. Rishi is for people who want to move beyond grocery store compromises and drink tea that tastes like it came from a place, not a factory. Best number 12. Loose leaf single origin tea. The safest and highest quality tea option is an tier brand. It has a format and sourcing philosophy. Loose leaf single origin tea from reputable importers represents the gold standard because it removes nearly every risk found in grocery store tea. Whole leaves allow you to see exactly what you're buying. There's no dust, no fannings, no mystery filler hiding inside a bag. Reputable importers publish lot numbers, harvest dates, and certificates of analysis showing pesticide and heavy metal testing results instead of asking for blind trust. Companies like Harney & Sons, Upton Tea and Adagio make this information accessible, giving consumers real control. Loose leaf tea also eliminates bag materials entirely. No plastic mesh, no bleached paper, no adhesives dissolving into your cup. Just leaves and water, the way tea has been brewed for thousands of years. Yes, it requires a strainer and a bit more effort, but the payoff is unmatched purity, flavor complexity, and peace of mind. This approach costs more upfront, typically $10 to $50 for several ounces, but the quality is incomparable. Once you experience properly sourced loose leaf tea, it becomes clear how compromised most bagged options really are. The modern tea aisle is a perfect example of how ancient traditions can be distorted by modern marketing. What should be a simple, calming ritual has been turned into a minefield of microplastics, pesticide cocktails, and premium-looking deception. The worst offenders rely on heritage logos, wellness language, and glossy packaging to distract from what independent testing actually reveals. The good news is that clean tea does exist. Brands that prioritize transparent sourcing, verified testing, and safe materials prove that you don't have to choose between convenience and quality. Whether it's responsibly sourced bagged tea or stepping up to loose leaf, the difference is measurable, not subjective. Your mug deserves better than plastic fibers and chemical residue disguised as sophistication. Once you know what's really in your tea, it becomes impossible to unsee the shortcuts some brands take. And just as easy to reward the ones that don a tea. If this breakdown helped you rethink what you're brewing, hit subscribe for more honest food and drink exposés, and drop a comment sharing the worst tea experience you've ever had. Until next time, keep your standards high, and your tea actually tea.